What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chad Arms, a.k.a. Chatty Bobby.
Oh, tickle throat there. My name
man.
is Tony, a.k.a. Friday the 14th.
And I'm the Jimmy Hart of this operation. You can call me Hot Mike Chance.
I love it. That was stone cold on it right
Gangsta.
there. Gangsta.
Bow.
We're here for episode number 49.
Yeah, and it's a fun fact. We're filming this episode on Super Bowl Sunday, and the 49ers are in the Super Bowl. And
Wow.
I hope to God they win because I hate the NFL now because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Episode 49, 49ers. Could be a coincidence.
It could be
Maybe
a sign.
not.
And I didn't realize that this is how shallow of a NFL fan I am. I didn't realize that Christian McCaffrey was Ed McCaffrey's son from the Denver Broncos.
I just found that out.
You
Just now
sure
when
you
said
didn't know that?
I did not know
I
that.
seriously did not know that.
I mean, I thought everybody knew that.
Well, shout out Ed McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Very solid receiver for the Broncos. His brother was one of the best players to ever play college basketball at Vanderbilt, Billy McCaffrey.
Really? I did not know that
Yeah.
either. Wow, okay. We're just throwing that knowledge all around
When
the place.
Vandy went to the Elite Eight in like the mid-'90s, Billy McCaffrey was like one of the best players in the country. And he ended up playing overseas. I thought he was going to get to go to the NBA, but he ended up playing overseas. But that's crazy. I did not know Christian McCaffrey was Ed McCaffrey's son.
Yeah, I didn't know
That just shows how old we are.
Yeah. Because they're Bussin' with the Boys had Ed McCaffrey on their show this week, and then a bunch of other and then a picture was floating around of Christian McCaffrey running around the field the last time the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And everything.
Yeah, we're old. We're old as white dog shit. R.I.P. Whistle.
Yeah, and then the one thing that stuck out about Ed McCaffrey back in the day, it looked like he was wearing like lawn gloves back in the day and everything. Not your typical receiver gloves. They look like stuff you'd wear like out working in the yard.
Shout out to getting leaves, bagging leaves up.
Was the last time that the Broncos won, was that when they played the Falcons?
I don't know.
Probably.
Dirty Bird
Falcons probably blew the lead or something.
Yeah. Well, that should have been the Minnesota Vikings that year.
Yeah, yep.
But
That's true.
Yeah,
That
the
is
Atlanta
true.
Falcons pulled off one of the biggest. And what was it? Morton Anderson missed the only kick of his whole season that year to not take the Vikings to the Super Bowl, because I was a Vikings fan back in the day. Chris Carter was the GOAT to me.
Yep.
But hey, we're here for episode number 49, brought to us by Trouble Spirits, Revolution One Media, the Natural Disasters, and Jimmy Hart. But before we get into this episode, we do have to talk about the WrestleMania hype right now. After the Royal Rumble, we found Cody won the Rumble, and then The Rock stepped in.
Yeah.
And did not make the Hot Mike Chance very happy at all when The Rock stepped into that situation.
No, not at all.
Is The Rock on Mean Gene level with you?
I mean, he was, but I like the direction that they're going now. He righted the ship.
Yeah.
It was heading toward the wrong direction. It was headed right to the iceberg, about to hit it, and they turned it just in time.
No. Be honest. Tell us how upset about this situation you really were.
The Rock lost all credibility with me. That guy came in from his Hollywood failures back into the WWE, where everybody loves him. And, you know, in a normal year, I think everyone would step aside. But this is Cody Rhodes' year. This is the year of the Rhodes for them to finally get the WWE WWF championship.
I agree wholeheartily. It was in text messages and in conversation with Chance was heated about The Rock pretty much coming in and taking.
I was calling him the Croc. Because that's what it was, a bunch of crock.
Yeah, but I think Twitter, I deleted Twitter because my Twitter was just getting so negative. It was just so hard to look at.
You got to follow me.
Yeah. Well, I may get it back, but evidently the We Want Cody movement blew up Twitter, and The Rock was getting booed.
Yep.
I think it was Birmingham 2 SmackDowns ago when Cody did the whole introduction to The Rock, and The Rock was getting booed out of the building.
It just felt so weird because after Cody won the Rumble, he got up on the turnbuckle, and him and Roman Reigns, they were like pointing to each other.
Exactly.
I mean, it just don't make any sense. I think that The Rock probably doesn't sit around watching Raw every week, and I don't think he really understood
how
was
big
going
of
on.
how big of a following Cody has right
Yep.
now. I mean, Cody is the ultimate babyface in the company right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had this press conference on Thursday.
Which wasn't a press conference at all.
It was just a hype event
Yep.
for WrestleMania. I mean, with the Super Bowl being in Vegas, everybody was there. The whole bloodline picture up on the screen that they put up there with everybody and their mother that's related to The Rock and Roman Reigns was on there. And a surprise name was on there.
Yep.
Jacob Fatu, which is a free agent right now, which is going to be, he's a future superstar in the making. But he was listed on there, so that pretty much confirms he's coming to the WWE.
Yeah.
But then Cody inserts himself into this whole Rock and Roman Reigns press event, and the shit hits the fan. Both insulting families with each other. Rollins was out there.
Who should have just had a tub of popcorn because he was basically just watching the whole thing go down up until certain points to the end. But he could have just got off the stage.
Yeah. Then the slap happened. The slap around the world happens. The Rock legit slaps the shit out of Cody for insulting the Anoa'i family,
and I don't even think he really insulted them that bad. They insulted Dusty more than he insulted. He was just saying, "Hey, your family wouldn't be proud of you right now," to Roman Reigns.
Exactly. And then, it's all a build-up. I think Elimination Chamber, we have The Rock come back in a match.
Yep.
We have The Rock and Reigns versus Rollins and Rhodes, I think, at Elimination Chamber, just to get this whole thing rolling and the hype for WrestleMania. And then I honestly think, in my opinion, at Mania, I think The Rock cost Reigns the belt at Mania.
Me too.
In some way, and then we have a battle for the bloodline.
Yep.
But that's just me.
Which is how it should happen.
Yeah, and then
I think cost Cody the belt again and let him lose again. And then win the championship at Madison Square Garden, where his dad got the belt snatched out of his hands.
Man, Chan's pulling out old school facts right there on us.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, that's just something I think we had to discuss everything that's got, because it just got me hyped up for WrestleMania even more, because I lost a little interest of it when The Rock inserted himself and we were going to get Cody versus Rollins, it looked like, for the heavyweight championship. And we want to see Cody finish this story out. And then Triple H came out on SmackDown Friday night and confirmed we are getting Cody and Reigns at WrestleMania. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be interesting to see what The Rock does and where everybody else falls into place now.
Yeah, we're on the road to WrestleMania.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Where there's a lot of good workers and a lot of good wrestling talent.
Yes, yeah, and I think we're going to see some good workers having some matches in WrestleMania, but that's just going to, what's a good word, surf our way into this week's episode of underrated wrestlers in our opinions.
For sure.
There is a ton that we have.
We can't get through all these.
There's
like 60 on this list.
Yeah, there's so many on this list. There's some that I'm familiar with. There's some that I've just recently started watching some stuff on that I'm actually shocked in. But, yeah, we'll just start flowing through a list of these guys. There's some that we'll talk about more than others, but anybody want to throw a name out there that sticks out to you, Chance?
So I just want to start with someone that a lot of people may not be familiar with, and that is Masato Tanaka.
Okay, yes.
Old school name back from the 90s. He still wrestles today, actually, in Japan. He had a huge feud with someone else that's also a underrated wrestler, Mike Awesome.
Yes.
They had a lot of good exchanges back in the day in ECW, and I thought Masato Tanaka would go on from that to WCW, which failed pretty soon after he came on to the scene. But he would have been perfect in ECW, and even having Mike Awesome and him wrestle in ECW. I sent the clip.
Yeah, I watched that match on the way up here, and I've seen like clips of Mike Awesome. I've never seen anything of this Tanaka guy before, but I watched that full match, and if was that how every match of theirs was?
Yes.
Was just the brutality of it, and I mean, I've made it clear on numerous episodes of the wrestling stuff. I was never much of an ECW fan. I know, Chance, you were a huge
I was into
ECW
it.
fan. You probably watched a whole lot more ECW than I did, but I've heard of Mike Awesome, especially when he came into WCW. But holy shit, you got to respect the hell out of that guy for being as agile
Yep.
as he was, for as big as he was. Because the dude was, what, 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, and almost 300 pounds.
I mean, and pulling off moves that were
Insane.
a middleweight or like a cruiserweight moves.
Yep.
I mean, the one move where he slingshotted himself up onto the top rope, stood there for a second, and then did an elbow drop off of the ropes. That's unheard of for a guy that size.
Yep. And I was able to see one of their matches live whenever I went to the ECW event.
Holy
So
cow.
That was interesting.
Now, how many matches did they have again? Because I know during that match they talked. There was some
8 or 9, I think. All in ECW.
Wow.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's one of his power bomb, the Awesome Bomb, has to be mentioned. That we didn't mention that in there in the finishers, did we?
No, it's kind of like a razor's edge / sit down power bomb. He'd done it a couple of different ways, but
Yeah, and they would throw people over the top rope through a table with it too, and sometimes miss the table.
yep.
That's what's crazy to me watching those old ECW events, and there's no padding. It's just concrete floors around the ring. Good luck to you surviving that.
How about y'all? Y'all have one?
I'll go with a newer guy that I'm a big fan of, Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Super underrated in my opinion. Pound for pound has to be one of the strongest guys in the WWE right now. He doesn't have a whole lot going. He's like the coach of a little faction right now they got going on with Otis,
And Maxine
and
Dupree,
Akira
Tozawa.
Yeah, they have a little stable going on, and he's just the coach of it. But I mean, I've always been when he was what was the tag team he was in? American Alpha with something Jordan.
It was Kurt Angle's son.
Yeah, Kurt Angle's
Son.
But when they were in NXT, their tag team matches were incredible. And for being such a little guy, I mean, he could do anything pretty much. I just wish he'd get more. What did they call him? Super G or something like Chatty G or something for a little while. The little basketball gimmick. That didn't work for him.
He didn't. Jason Jordan. But I think he's way too talented to be doing what he's doing. But I think his size hurts him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he's on the smaller end of the spectrum. So I think that's what's hurting him the most.
I think solo-wise, his size gets it, but he's perfect for tag team wrestling. He's got good chemistry. Every tag team he's been in, he's always had good chemistry with.
Yep.
But as a newer guy, that's one I'm a fan of, and I think's highly underrated. Going old school with it, though, I've always been a fan of William Regal and his style of wrestling.
Yep.
Hard-hitting. I mean, it was just a bruiser. And that's kind of what you see with like some newer guys like Pete Dunne. It's like a newer version of William Regal's style, especially like the forearms that he'd lay into the top of the chest. I see a lot of William Regal with Walter as well, in a way, just as a bigger
Gunther.
Yeah. Gunther. Sorry, I'm used to him as Walter.
Yep.
But Gunther, but he's got more size to him. But I was always a William Regal fan. But he could have been better than he was, but he got in his own way.
Yeah. Which a lot of these people on this list did with substance abuse.
Yeah. I mean, the whole man's man gimmick that he had was terrible in the WWE. Coming out there in a lumberjack and a hard hat. That didn't sell me too well, but he was still solid. Some more guys that you could throw right there in that WCW days was Norman Smiley, the Wiggle. The gimmick was horrible, but he could go in the ring. And I think he was more popular down in Mexico than he was up here in the States.
Yeah.
I think he won the United States Championship a couple times or something like that.
Yeah, he had some good matches, not anything that was too high profile, but definitely had some good matches, and I think he could have competed with anyone that was in the business like Jericho.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever had anything, but I think that would have been a good pairing for them too.
Yeah, he had like the Skull at Fro didn't have anything going for him in that situation though.
No.
I hated Norman Smiley.
Yeah, he's on your shit list.
Not my shit list. I just couldn't get down with his gimmick.
Anybody
Couldn't
stick
get
out
past
to
it.
you from this list that underrated in your opinion that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean John Tenta, Earthquake for sure for big men.
Yeah.
He was such a good worker for a big guy and terrifying to like when he did promos and the way he looked and he moved around real well. Same with Ray Traylor, Big Boss Man, the Boss, whatever you want to call him. Those were two big men that worked as good or better than any big men in the wrestling business.
Yeah, and I'll throw Bam Bam Bigelow right off of that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
Bam Bam for sure.
He won the ECW heavyweight title, but anything outside of ECW, he never really took off. I know in WWF, his biggest thing was having that feud with Lawrence Taylor, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In WrestleMania.
And him and Taz had some good matches in ECW also.
Yeah, and the whole thing they did with him and Shane Douglas, they had the little faction.
Yep.
Also, too, Goldust, Dustin Runnels, Dustin Rhodes has been a super solid worker for 30 years now. I mean, he was 91, actually 33, 34 years now.
Yeah, and he's still going to this day.
Yeah.
Now, do you think AEW does anything with this build-up for going back to WrestleMania this year? Do you think Dustin gets involved with this now, with this whole family thing going on?
I hope he makes an appearance at least at WrestleMania and is able to celebrate with Cody, but I don't know if they'll let them get together or be able to do anything since he is signed to AEW, and I'm not sure what Dustin and WWE's relationship is right now.
That's true too.
I think it'll just depend on all of that, but I don't think Tony lets him go there without especially with how Cody left and just all that. I mean, but
that's true.
Tony Khan is a fan at heart, so maybe he'll let it happen.
I'll go throw another big guy off of you too. Rikishi was a surprisingly underrated big man that never. He had a couple little main event spots, but he was never really. But for a big guy, I mean, he was wearing a diaper out there the whole time, but he could go.
No, for sure. I mean, he was some of the best, most entertaining from the mid card standpoint during the Attitude Era. He just got lumped in with the two cool guys, and them guys are never going to be top tier tag teams.
Yeah.
It's, R.I.P. Grandmaster Sexay, but yeah, like Rikishi definitely is another one for sure.
Another ECW guy that I have is Spike Dudley.
Oh.
Not the best worker as far as skill, but he could help put people over. Like, he was really good at his role, and he would take the craziest bumps for people.
He got his ass whipped better than anybody that's ever
Oh
been
my gosh, dude! From his whole career.
Yep.
I mean, what sticks out to me is those power bombs that he took from Lesnar. Just like 4 or 5 of them in a row.
Yep.
And that was at the end of his career when he was taking those.
And I think his size is what held him up. I think like he could have competed with someone like Rey Mysterio or Psychosis, people along that line. But there were just so many jacked people up in ECW that it was going to be hard for him to stand out.
He was the ultimate seller. He was probably one of the best sellers ever to lace up some boots.
Yep.
I mean, the punishment that man took is, and he's still walking.
Yeah,
is what's
as
crazy.
far as I know.
But like you mentioned, one that I was a fan of too was Psychosis in WCW. That whole cruiserweight division with La Parka, Psychosis, Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho. That was tune-in stuff for WCW. That's what I mean, yeah, you had the NWO and all that stuff going on for WCW, but the wrestling was going on in the cruiserweight division with those guys. But I was always a huge fan of Psychosis because he looked cool, and his fingers always stuck out to because he taped up his fingers. They looked like almost claws in a way. But, yeah, and I was always a Billy Kidman fan just because he looked like a normal guy going out there and pulling crazy moves off.
Yep.
But
Anyone else stand out to you, Chad?
Yeah, Ron Simmons for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know maybe some people may say, "Oh, well, he won the title." Well, yeah, but like he still was well underrated. He should have had so many more chances at a title. But they just
agree.
don't. They don't. I'm gonna just say it, man. They don't let the black wrestlers get to that top level.
No.
Hardly at all, bro. They just don't. They just don't. The Rock, of course, I know he's biracial, but like as far as like giving those guys run, especially like Bill Watts gave him that run like early on in WCW. That was the first of its kind or whatever. But even years later, like you don't see a lot of that happening, and there's so many talented guys that just don't get that.
I'll talk about
push.
Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
Is a perfect example of that. He came up with that whole Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Batista, John Cena group, and he could still go to this day, but he
The
just
only
got
one of those guys that didn't get a main event push.
Yeah.
the only one that didn't get a main event push. He won a tag title and did he an
I think he's won the Intercontinental once or twice.
yeah, but
But he's
never,
he's a perfect example of that
Yeah.
because he was the best and most entertaining part of all of those Money in the Bank matches.
Oh yeah,
He was the reason I watched them.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin was the reason why. And it makes – I didn't even think about that when you was just talking about that, but like coming in on that same class with Lesnar, Batista, Orton, and Cena, and then all of those guys get 20 years of main event pushes.
Yeah.
And Shelton Benjamin never had anything more. Would he get Intercontinental maybe?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was probably he was
best
to me the best worker out of all of them.
yeah.
But
And I think he had the it factor too. He had a good physique. He had talent on the mic. I don't think he was as confident as some of the other guys, but Brock Lesnar for the first few months, years and years, never talked. Yep.
I mean, if we're going to be honest, out of those four guys, the only one that really had fire-ass mic skills was John Cena.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely.
I love
agree.
Batista as an actor, but Batista, like talking wrestling, no.
Yeah.
Orton, no, not really, not till way later.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's because he dived into that sinister vibe, but it was still real corny. Kinda.
Yeah.
So it's like,
No,
Cena was really the only one
At all times, at his whole career, he's the most on point on the mic.
Yep.
But yeah, Shelton Benjamin he probably took one of the best super kicks of all time too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he just did everything right.
And I love the tag team with him and Charlie Haas too. That was with the angle in there. That was dope.
And another one that's along those lines, I think, is Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I'm glad they dropped that Jamaican gimmick and all that, and he got Kofi Mania and got a few pushes here and there, but he's way more talented than what he became in the WWE.
Win the title?
yeah, he won it. Yeah, won it from Daniel Bryan and everything.
How long they let him have it?
I don't think it was very long.
Not even
seconds?
a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months at that.
Was it the main title or was it?
It was the main title, and he won it. And he won it at Mania.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool because Kofi's always been
He's been a
good
worker.
Yeah.
Well, that and kind of a guy that's kind of completely disappeared. But I was a huge Bobby Roode fan when he came into NXT.
I think he might be an agent now.
Is he?
Yep.
When he made the step to WWE, he just kind of got lost in the fold. But Bobby Roode, he had the look. He could go in the ring. His entrance in NXT, in those NXT events, the whole Glorious thing was top notch.
Yep.
Dude, name a wrestler, and I think one of the reasons why Bobby Roode didn't get the push he should have, because that Glorious shit was fire.
Oh, it was amazing.
But I think, again, name a wrestler that was a TNA wrestler other than AJ Styles that legit got a main event push.
That's
Nobody.
Good. That's good.
There's nobody.
Yeah.
James Storm didn't even get out of NXT when he came over.
He had one match in NXT.
Like Bobby Roode. And again, these guys waited to come along way later in their careers for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But even if aside, this isn't just strict to WWE, but like Bobby Roode is he had some of the best matches in TNA. And that when he was Team Canada and all that, him and Eric Young and all those guys, like they had some of the best matches in TNA back then.
Yeah. Yeah, and
He's definitely slept on for sure.
Yeah, and just that whole glorious. I mean, man, those NXT events, and he got the NXT title for a little while, but it just as soon as he made that jump up to the main roster, he got lost in the shuffle of everything, which sucked because I was a big fan of that whole gimmick. But one I'll get some hate on, and I think he's highly underrated, and I'll say it I'm a huge Miz fan. Miz is underrated. Whenever they need somebody, a heel to hold the IC title, they throw it on Miz. Mm-hmm. Whenever they have somebody new coming in and need a feud with them, they put it on Miz.
When they need to make Snoop Dogg look good and Shane McMahon.
And when Shane tears his pec or something like that by just getting in the ring and then needs to let Snoop Dogg pin him, Miz is always there. That's the thing. He's always there for the WWE. And you never would have thought it at how his career began and all that. But he's a WWE guy, full fledged. He's always there for the company when they need him.
Yep. And I likened him to Daniel Bryan, like someone that like The Miz is someone that saw some success but didn't get the success that he deserved. And I think the same thing with Daniel Bryan, that he was a great worker. I think that he had the crowd behind him for sure during the Yes movement, and he just they just gave him enough to keep him happy at the time, and then used them up, and then
that whole Nexus thing kind of stalled everything he had going on too. Whenever the announcer dude that
Justin Roberts,
Justin Roberts choked him. Didn't that get him fired for a little while?
Yeah,
or fired.
Yep. See, too, the thing about Daniel Bryan is, and I agree with what you were saying, but the thing I think with Daniel Bryan in WWE was they made such a push for Daniel Bryan, and I was all for it in WrestleMania 30 and him getting the title. But once he got the title, it kind of just
fell
apart. Like it wasn't moving pay-per-views, and I think a lot of it is because WWE is so based around the big, giant title holder. Like especially around that time, it was the Lesnars and the John Cenas and Batista and Ortons and all those guys, and then Daniel Bryan didn't fit the mold. But once he won it, it was kind of like, well, he won it.
Yeah. Now what?
And then now it didn't. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, but I definitely get. I think he's way better of a worker than Miz.
Oh
but
yeah.
I see what y'all are saying about the Miz. I just.
You don't like the Miz. It's okay.
I don't like the Miz.
Not everybody's a Miz fan.
I respect him. I do. But remember, there was that whole time where Miz was going off on Daniel Bryan when they had their little back and forth.
I think that was amazing. And I think that was a full-on shoot, too. That whole and then I like Daniel Bryan better as the babyface more than the heel. That whole heel title run that he had with the organic title belt. And
that wasn't good.
Made out of cardboard and everything.
And I think WWE was throwing all that kind of stuff on him because they were trying to kill him because they knew that or get rid of it, bring the value down in his character because I think they knew he was heading elsewhere.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yep.
I know another one that y'all are both fans of. Wade Barrett has got to be listed in the underrated things.
Yeah, he just couldn't stay healthy.
Just couldn't stay healthy. Yeah. Great on the mic, great worker, had the look.
I do not like him on commentary though.
Yeah, I'm SmackDown's hard to.
I think he would be good as a manager, but maybe not because he's so big. He might overshadow the talent, but I think he would be a good manager, a good mouthpiece for someone.
Or either that or a GM of one of the two.
Yep.
I know we have Aldis as the GM of SmackDown, and what's his name, Pierce is GM of Raw. Mm-hmm. I think he would be better in one of those roles. But when he starting up that whole Nexus thing, and then going into the King Barrett and
Bad News Barrett.
I mean, it's just I was a big fan of him.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Someone else for me is, which I think is probably one of the biggest ball drops in the history of WWE, is Dolph Ziggler.
But yes,
He
great
got he kind of did like the Miz and Daniel Bryan, where he got a little bit of a run, but it just wasn't. I think backstage politics played a big part of that with John Cena and Nikki Bella and all that kind of stuff that was going on behind the scenes with them.
Well, Dolph also seems arrogant.
Yes, he's very.
It doesn't
full of
seem
himself.
like that didn't seem like that was just a character. I'm sure it was dialed up some, and I don't know if that's what caused any of it. But I've seen interviews where that was brought up. Now that could just be them saying that.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm a big fan. He can go in the ring just with any. I don't think he didn't have the bulk that your main eventers had either. I think he was perfect in that intercontinental mix.
see, I think I equate Dolph Ziggler to like the newer generation Shawn Michaels.
That's a good comparison too.
And Shawn Michaels didn't have. I mean, he was able to have that title
in the land of the giants.
Yeah. But like his work and his charisma, which Dolph had both that, but for whatever reason he didn't. But I think he's underrated for sure.
But he did get one of the biggest when he turned in his Money in the Bank. When he cashed in, that's one of the loudest
Monday Night
pops.
Raw, yep.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest pops ever.
Yep.
That's back when I was watching it still.
And it's just like why do you not go with that? But that's the WWE at that time, which if it wasn't the household name, then it wasn't good enough for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another one that chances or one of y'all got listed is Chris Candido, R.I.P.
Oh yeah.
That's a definite underrated worker, man. He got stuck with shitty gimmicks and had a girl, was in love with a woman that fucked his career up.
Yeah.
Got him hooked on pills and all kinds of shit. But
yeah, his ECW work was really good too. But I even liked him whenever I think the gimmick was stupid, the Body Donna.
No,
but I think he pulled it.
For
he
sure.
pulled it out like him and Tom Pritchard and Sonny being with them helped along with that. But just whenever he first came in, like he was believable in that role. It wasn't a good gimmick, but he made it work.
Yeah, that shows you how good he was.
And back then, dude, there was not a gimmick that was good in WWF.
Mm-hmm.
They were all shit turds like that.
Yeah.
Like it was like the Jacob and Eli Blue and the Godwins and
The early 90s.
Max
WWF.
Moon and
Smoking
it's just
guns.
all these smoking guns, fucking cowboys walking out the ring. So, like, it was just that it was that time frame. But
Yep.
the R.I.P. Chris Candido, he's probably at the top of this list if we had to number him. I would think.
Yeah.
Another ECW guy. I noticed on my list there's quite a few ECW guys.
Yeah, I'm going to have to
but
go back and watch like some old school ECW and stuff.
Shane Douglas in ECW, not as much in WWE, but in ECW was top notch.
Yeah, he was like the ultimate heel in ECW,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
That's where he shined the most. I liked him in WCW too, though.
Yeah. And I like the Dean Douglas character. I thought it. I mean,
See, that's what I remember most.
It just didn't. It wasn't able to kind of grow into what it should have been. But I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of like the skip thing with Chris Candido. He made it work.
Yeah.
And him and Razor Ramon had some good matches in WWE, but I just don't think he was given the chance to shine there.
Well, plus he butted heads with the Clique too.
Yeah.
And that let him tell it. That's what it was. Of course, they say the complete opposite, so it's one of those things. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. But
yeah,
I think he didn't get it. He didn't get along with Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash and them.
Mm-hmm. He definitely had the talent. I just don't know.
And he had the mind too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's super good business mind guy, and he's a really good talker too. Like if you ever get a chance to watch any of his shoot interviews.
Yep.
But like Shane Douglas was dope too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch like the early '90s. So pretty much like that '93, '96 area in ECW is the way to go with.
Yep.
Man, I wish if I would have known back when I had all those WWE Blu-rays that they was all going to go out of print, I would have kept them all. I just assumed when the network came out.
Yeah.
What's the point of having all these things? And now the network's done bounced around to 3 different things. Now they're saying they don't even know if they're going to have a network anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And all them Blu-rays are completely out of print, bro. They're all like $40, $50 a piece now.
Yeah.
Because they're not producing them anymore because they quit doing DVDs. But I say that to say ECW, if there's a way to find it, I may see if I can go and find them. They've got the ECW Unreleased.
Yeah, I remember those
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
those are really dope. And then there was like the the moments and stuff. But
yeah, I remember those Blu-rays that came out. And
yeah,
I had so many of those too. And
I know, man. And we just assumed, oh well, it's on the network, and it made sense at the time. But like, they're still going to have the network, but they're not. A lot of those stuff, they're not even. They didn't move over to the network.
Yeah, I'm curious to see with this whole Netflix thing if the network eventually evolves over to the Netflix.
Yeah,
as
I think
well.
it's going to end up on Netflix for a while.
Which I don't know. It's a lot of money.
It'll be an abridged version.
Yeah,
it won't be the same. It won't be the full pay-per-views. You ain't gonna get all that on Netflix.
No. Let's see. I'll throw another one out here to you. Where did I have him? RVD. Yeah.
Yep.
RVD is under you. I mean,
Another ECW guy.
Another ECW guy. I've watched more of him in the WWE days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy that could literally do it all. Everything. He could do it. But he was another one that kind of got in his own way of getting that ultimate push in the WWE.
Yeah, I don't think he played politics too much.
And I don't think he cared. He didn't care to.
Whenever he got to WWE, like the Mr. Monday Night stuff, whenever he was showing up on Raw and ECW was showing up on Raw, that stuff was really good. And then later on, I think he was just towards the end of his career, probably a little sour about like ECW and all that stuff. And then he just didn't. He had some success there, but just not what he should have.
No. But he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the coast to coast move is absolutely insane.
Yep.
I mean, even though Shane pulls it off, I mean, that's seeing a wrestling ring in person, and it's insane to do that.
And ECW, when he would flip out into the crowd,
Yeah.
on the Sabu usually.
Yeah. See, that's what the only ECW that guy that stuck out to me back in the day was Sabu, just because he made his way over into WCW.
Yep.
And having a body full of scars.
Yeah. He was good too, just not. I wouldn't necessarily put him in this category, but he was semi underrated, I think, too. Sabu.
He was more of a get a reaction out of people guy.
Yep.
Big spot guy.
Yeah.
Because who do you have as his? He had a mouthpiece too, didn't he?
Bill Alfonso was with them some, but
Is that the guy with the whistle from
Yeah.
ECW? Okay.
Yeah.
That always stuck out to me. You got another one?
Yeah, I got one more. I guess I'll say Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I had. I didn't write a list down, but I had a list of about 10 in my head, and he was definitely on there.
Yeah.
Just one of the best. I'll say he top 3 best mic guys in the wrestling period.
Yeah.
Psychologically, he was the best. Created the DDT. Never got the main event push because the Ultimate Warrior is a douchebag and fucked it all
I think
up.
Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan blocked a lot of people's success. Maybe not intentionally, but some of it intentionally, but some of it just that error that them two were so big, mainly Hogan.
Well, you could put Kurt Hennig right there with Jake right there then too, because Kurt never made it out of that whole intercontinental level right there in the WWF days.
And
unfortunately, Kurt Hennig died way too early. He would have had another at least 10 years where he would have probably got that run early 2000, like when WCW came over, that he would have gotten a main event push back then.
When he came back at the Rumble, he got
fired right after they had that plane ride from hell. I think he's one of the ones that got canned, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the ones that got canned from that, but because him and Lesnar was fighting on the plane or whatever.
Yep.
But I think that he would have got a main event push back then, but it just.
Well, even if he was still alive today, can you imagine the agent having him in the backstage area as an agent nowadays? It's just.
And I think you can put Rick Rude.
Yeah.
And Ted DiBiase kind of in that same category. Both of them really didn't see the success that they could have because the bigger names like Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. And it seemed like back then WWE didn't want to put the belt on on a heel. They always wanted to keep
Yeah.
it on a baby face.
Sergeant
Merchandise
Slaughter
sales probably.
You had to have put it on Sergeant Slaughter for a little bit for
Mhm.
Hogan to come back and get it.
Yep.
And they only did that because of the time we were in operate. It was Desert Storm. And
yeah,
it was,
exactly.
It's so fucked up the way they played on people's emotions at that time frame.
And especially it's changing over Sergeant Slaughter over to an Iraqi sympathizer. It was just it made no sense whatsoever.
Well,
but
it made perfect sense in the sense of
money.
Yeah.
In the sound of money. We'll throw some women out there that you think were underrated, like Molly Holly.
Yeah.
I mean, she for a woman, she could go just as good as anybody.
Even in WCW, whenever she was with Ric Flair and the Horsemen, I think she always a few times she took a mean chair shot from or a mean guitar shot from Jeff Jarrett that one time.
Yes.
And just I don't know, like she always added something. Just her presence whenever she was in WCW as a manager.
Yeah.
She added something kind of similar. I wouldn't compare her to Miss Elizabeth, but you always noticed when she was out there, and then when she moved over to WWE as Molly Holly, she had some great matches there also.
Yeah. And Natalia's been around for forever. I mean, she's got the lineage and all that stuff from the family. Daughter of Jim Neidhart.
Yep. She's kind of like the Miz. Anytime they need to build someone,
they throw her in a feud with them.
Yeah.
She's solid. I mean, you know what you're going to get out of her every time. Now, not the greatest talker, but she's solid in the ring. Is just as good as anybody.
And I'm sure she has a big part in training a lot of the women there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. And someone that stands out to me now, a female, is Liv Morgan. I don't think that she's being utilized. And whenever she first came in, she wasn't that great. But over the years, she's really improved and worked hard to become better. And I would like to see her get a good push.
Now she's won the title once or something like that, but she got hurt. I think when she had her little title run going on. But I've always been a fan of her. I like her. I like her look. She and she can talk, and she can go for being a little. She's almost like the size of Alexa Bliss.
Yeah,
in a way.
And the role that they put Alexa Bliss in with Bray Wyatt, I wish they would have put Liv Morgan in that spot because I think she would have. No disrespect to Alexa Bliss, because I think she's a good worker too overall, but I think Liv Morgan would have pulled that role off a lot better.
Yeah, and another one you got on here that I'm a fan of is Naomi.
Just came back.
Just came back from the Rumble and all that stuff. She won the TNA title for a little stretch. But she's always been able to go in the ring. She's always had a whole lot of athleticism and pull off big moves for the women. She's almost like a cruiserweight. She pulls off like cruiserweight moves where the other women can't in a way. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of her. Now the Gail Kim one, I'm not too familiar with Gail Kim. I know she was big.
She was a badass wrestler for the Knockouts division in TNA.
That's
she's one of the best female wrestlers ever. To me.
Yeah, same here.
She got to WWE, and of course they didn't do shit with her, but she was the best wrestler. The Knockouts division in TNA was some of the best women's wrestling I've ever watched. I never really got into WWE's because it was more
forced.
Yeah, they just wasn't as good.
Yeah,
honestly, but in TNA in that time frame, the Knockouts division was entertaining for sure.
They were putting on good matches.
Yeah, and Gail Kim was like at the forefront of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to. Yeah, those TNA and ECW, I'm gonna have to go back and. I'm gonna get my knowledge up on those.
Yep. Two people that I think also, Bobby Eaton. Yeah. Bobby Eaton as a singles person, he didn't really get to push a singles wrestler. He didn't get the push that he should have. As a tag team, he saw success, but as a singles wrestler, I think he was just, I don't know, like maybe it was the way his body, he didn't have the physique, and with him being in WCW mostly, I just don't think he got the push that he deserved.
Yeah, I agree. It's like him and Greg Valentine always had that prune eating or that lemon face to him.
Yeah.
Always had like a sour face to him.
Yep. Fucking bleached mullet too.
Barry Windham, would he be considered on this list too? I mean, he's almost like a Dustin Rhodes, in my opinion, could go, but just never really got that big push
Yep.
behind it. I mean, he won the U.S. title and the TV title a couple times in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
But
Did he ever get the? I don't know if he ever got the NWA World Title. I don't know if he ever got that run, but he definitely deserved one if he didn't. And WCW. But that WWE did the same thing. They dropped the ball with him. He was with the New Blackjacks, and then he was the stalker, Barry Windham, and just never. I think he would have been good in that Intercontinental Championship spot. And then Tito Santana is another one that I think didn't get the push that he deserved. He always had good, a lot of good talent, but it just didn't. I don't know. He didn't get put into the feuds that he needed to get put into to elevate him to that next level.
Yeah.
But
he was always just stuck in that mid card.
Mm-hmm.
You never saw him get in. And same with Rick. Well, Rick Martel would get a little above the mid card just because he was a heel.
Mm-hmm.
But just never saw Tito get above that IC Intercontinental rankings.
And him and Shawn Michaels had some really good matches, which Shawn Michaels could wrestle a broom, and him and Ric Flair are the same in that they could wrestle anyone and make them look good.
No. The same with Dean Malenko.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Dean Malenko numerous times on this show. Just could never get out of that mid-card area, but was just as good a wrestler as anybody in the business.
Yep.
He just had no personality.
No personality. Just stone face. Just would never.
Wrestling standpoint, he's one of the best. But I mean, he it's not just about that.
The man of 1,000 holds and 0 personality.
Yeah.
Facts all day on that one. I mean, it's just so bland.
Yeah.
And he never had any. The only time he really stuck out to me was when he came in. Was it Halloween Havoc when he dressed up as one of the luchadors?
Was it La Parka?
It wasn't La Parka. It was the orange one that he dressed up as to surprise Jericho.
Oh yeah, Calypso.
I can't
something
remember.
Like that.
But that was like the only personality you saw out of Dean Malenko the whole time. But as soon as he ripped off the mask, all you got was this.
Yep.
So, but he was a great worker.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
We rolled through pretty good amount of this list.
There was a lot of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we're one episode away from episode 50, man.
50 episodes and almost a full
crazy.
year of podcasting on this show. I don't know what I was going to say. It's almost the end of the episode. I got to fuck it up somehow.
Stay tuned for the next one, man. We're planning on doing a cool little idea for episode 50, hopefully. Yeah. We're also going to be talking about the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, we got BJ coming in. We're going to get into past Royal Rumbles. We'll get into more detail about this this year's Royal Rumble and talk with him about the build up to WrestleMania. Because I'm, like I said before, now that this all happened Thursday and Friday, I'm gassed up for WrestleMania now.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
And so they're actually, I hope they listen to the fans.
Yeah.
On this one. So
shout out Trouble Spirits. Shout out Revolution One Media. Shout out to the Natural Disasters. And be sure to stream or download Troy and Emmett.
Yes.
We charted number 6 on iTunes hip hop albums.
Congratulations to him. And
yeah, man. Shout out to O&E. And yeah, man. We got a lot in the works. We just thank y'all for 500 subscribers. Let's shoot for 1,000. Now let's try to get 1,000.
Keep building it.
We
out this motherfucker.